Good morning. 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 It is Transformational Tuesday. Good morning. Transformational Tuesday, you guys. Triggered or tested. Triggered or tested. It's Transformational Tuesday. Triggered or tested. Are we being triggered or tested, you guys? Transformational Tuesday. Are we being triggered or are we being tested, you guys? Are we being triggered? Or are we being tested? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Life Lessons with Dr. Sheila Little. If you're new here, I am Dr. Sheila Little. Okay. I am Dr. Sheila Little. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am excited about this conversation today. This week, we're talking about accountability. This month, we're talking about how to shape your life, right? All about how to shape your life on, this month is Women's History Month, right? And the whole idea was to discuss, like, how can we, create history? How can we create history in our life, right? How can we shape the life we want? Good morning, Miss Melissa. Right. And so on Monday, on the first week, we talked about self-awareness. Last week, we talked about healing. And this week, we're talking about accountability, you guys. And yesterday was a good conversation, I think. If you think, put a one in the chat, right? It was a different take on accountability, right? It was a different take on accountability. Good morning, Miss Jackie. And I do think that this conversation is necessary for really just not just shaping our life, but just moving forward in life, guys. Just moving forward in life. Accountability is a necessary tool. And today's topic, triggered or tested, I think is going to be essential to how we move forward, whether we want to use accountability as a tool of growth or not. It's not because we don't understand the role of accountability. Miss Jackie said, I'm moving and shaking, but still listening. Okay, Miss Jackie. Um, Whether we want to use accountability as a tool or not, it's not because we're not going to be aware, right? It's going to be it's going to be a choice for us. Okay. So let's take our deep breath, right? We've done what we're supposed to do as individuals, right? Taking care of our personal selves, right? Whatever we need to do, we're coming together as a community. So we're just going to get present. So let's take our deep breath. Feel our feet on the floor, right? Just getting present in our body, feeling our legs, right? If we're laying down, we're just kind of going to scan our bodies, feeling our legs, our seat in the chair. If we're at the office, right? If we're laying down, we're just feeling our legs, right? We're feeling ourselves, just kind of fill up our backs, right? Our tummies, right? We're just kind of scanning our body, just getting present, right? Our chest, our backs, right? Presence is the key, right? Feeling our arms, our hands, our necks, our face, right? And we just want to take a deep breath in. We're going to breathe in, accountability, right? And breathe out anything that's not accountability. Okay. So today's topic is triggered or tested. But before we dive in, drop one word in the chat that describes how accountability makes you feel, right? No judgment, just awareness, or just how you feel altogether. Today is my workout day, so I'm gonna try to get through this conversation a little, and I'll say like quicker, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm getting through the conversation this morning. But tell me how you're feeling. What are your feelings about accountability? I feel like accountability is essential. I definitely have an understanding of why we don't like accountability. I definitely have an understanding of, why accountability can trigger us, right? But I feel like it's essential. You put in the chat, what you think accountability is. Let me tell you why. Some things that, again, my goal here is to help you understand, right? Understand. So let's talk about some natural things about accountability, right? that could really help you see that accountability is a natural thing. A natural thing. We use accountability. We use alarm systems, right? Right? To wake us up. That's an accountability system. I want to get up at a certain time. I'm going to set this alarm clock. Why? To hold me account to get up at 6 in the morning. That's a natural accountability system. Our gas tank, right? Miss Melissa said accountability for me brings forth maturity. Yes. Yes. Our gas hand on our car, right? Hold us account to what? Putting gas back in our car, right? It's a measuring stick. Our thermostat, right? It holds the house to account to whatever that 70 degrees, 80 degrees, right? That's an accountability system. Our nervous system is a built-in warning system, right? Pep said he's feeling mild this morning. Thank you, Pep. Good morning. Okay. Uh, our circulatory system, right? Or our the way our blood flows through our system, right? This is accountability system, way the blood pumps out and pumps in, right? Our pain management system, this is accountability. When I feel a level of pain, it's going to what? Let me know, hey, get your hand back. You don't want to get burnt, right? So we have an accountability mechanism that's already built in, you guys. I need you to know that. So good morning, Dewana. Grand rising, right? So yeah, Miss Jackie, we all need accountability. We all need accountability. So I don't want you to feel like that this conversation is any way trying to push or lead you to something. What it is just like I'm trying to get you back into relationship with your emotions. I want you to come back in relationship with this thing called accountability, because I really think a lot of us, you guys, are hiding. Right? We are hiding from ourselves. We are hiding from people around us. Good morning, Miss Delana. We are hiding from ourselves. We're hiding. Good morning, Mariah. We're hiding from ourselves. We're hiding from the world, right? Which is allowing us to get unhealthy. It's allowing us to make excuses for ourselves, right? And it's sending us in some way into a level of sadness, a level of disconnect, right? Because we won't hold ourselves accountable on the inside, and then we won't put accountability systems on the outside. You know, there was a time where, and you will hear the older people talk about this, where if your kids walk, and you know, I grew up in this generation where my aunts got the permission to discipline me, right, and hold me accountable to the things that my mother said to me, or that my grandparents instilled in me, right? There was a community that held me accountable to what they knew my grandparents, uh, said, right? To the standard of my parents. We've gotten away from that. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying that we moved away from even this community accountability, right? Where, as kids, if you was around the corner and somebody saw you doing something that you weren't supposed to be doing, by the time I got home, my granddaddy knew about that, right? It wasn't like, I ain't going to be in their business. People is all up in our business, and we've moved. That's an external accountability. And what that made us do is it made us stand up straight, act right? But now that there's no accountability, because everybody is in their own silos in our communities, everybody is just, let me mind my own business. I don't want to do this. And it's making us fragile, right? It's making us fragile. It's making us, in a sense, and I'm using these words softly because I don't want to judge it. I just want you to see how not holding ourselves accountable to ourselves, not holding ourselves accountable and having external accountabilities and giving people permission to hold us accountable, it is some way breaking us down. And it's not making us stronger or more flexible. It's actually making us more fragile, right? Fragile as a community, if that makes sense. Okay. And that's not a judgment. That's just a level of awareness. So this session is for anyone who feels defensive or overwhelmed or anxious when they get called out. Okay. Those who avoid accountability because it feels like pressure or control, right? People who struggle with consistency or follow through, and individuals who want to turn triggers into tools for self-growth. All right. So our powerful quote for today is that the things that upset us about others can teach us something about ourselves. The things that upset us about others truly can teach us something about ourselves, right? This is a good quote for today, because a lot of times when we're not aware, the very thing that's, good morning, Miss Cynthia, the very thing that we're aggravated by what somebody else is doing, good morning, Dale, by what somebody else is doing, it triggers us in a way, that get on my nerves, right? But it can be a teaching tool for us. It can be a teaching tool for us if we step back. Listen, often the people who hold us accountable trigger us the most, right? But that's because they are challenging us to grow, right? Accountability, you guys, isn't an attack. It's a mirror, right? So, um, so again, back to Lisa. Lisa was a manager who couldn't take feedback, you guys. Lisa was a hardworking leader, but whenever her boss gave her constructive criticism, she would immediately get defensive, right? Like she could feel it in her body. She would get tense, right? She would want to call her friends here, here she go again, right? And every time we would talk, it would be like all of this stuff about how her boss is picking on her and all of this, right? Instead of hearing the feedback, what she heard was, you're not good enough. You're failing. I don't appreciate you. You need to work harder, right? And one day I asked her, why does feedback trigger you so much, right? And Lisa realized that growing up, she was only praised for being perfect, you guys. That's the only time she got attention. And any correction felt like an attack once she got older. So once she identified this trigger, she was able to really reframe accountability as support instead of judgment, you guys. Listen, the way we react to accountability really can reveal where we need to be healed. So I want to ask you, what's one accountability moment that triggered you, okay? And what's underneath that reaction? All right? Because here's the truth. Triggers aren't proof that something is wrong, you guys. They're proof that something is being challenged within you. All right. That something is being challenging you. And if you ever felt uncomfortable when you've been held accountable, it's not because you're failing, you guys. It's because you're growing. Listen, imagine what life would feel like if accountability didn't trigger you, but it really empowered you. It empowered you to become the best version of yourself. What if the things that make you feel uncomfortable today, the things that make you feel uncomfortable today, is the actual things that's preparing you to become stronger tomorrow? Think about that. The very thing that's making you uncomfortable today is the things that will make you stronger tomorrow, right? A woman in my coaching program used to shut down every time somebody asked her a question, right? Or question her decisions, right? She later realized that she was being triggered by accountability, right? She was triggered by her past fear of disappointing others. All right. Once she healed this feeling that she had of disappointing others, she was really able to embrace this gift of accountability, instead of really seeing it as a threat, you guys. Listen, studies show that emotional intelligence, right? Studies on emotional intelligence, show that those who process their triggers in a way that was healthy had higher success rates in their leadership, in their relationships, in their personal growth, right? So what if accountability wasn't here to hurt you, but to really help you? I want to talk about emotional intelligence. I had a conversation, and if you guys taking my calls after this, I really appreciate it. Yesterday, after our conversation, I had a talk with a gentleman, and we were talking about the show, and he was like, man, that was kind of like a hard show. You talked about accountability. It really made me think. It made me think about my finances. You know, and we had a conversation about their finances before, and one of the things that he said was, yeah, and I said something like, yeah, because you can get a trusted partner. It's like, yeah, because I've really never been good with money, and I was like, yeah, you can get a trusted individual where you can just like give them like $100 a month to save for you, and like over the next 5 years, the relationship that you want with money, this was my offer to them, the relationship that you want with money, could be there. And his response was, yeah, the thing is, I want to be able to do that for myself. Right. And I said, that is it. For the last 20 years, you haven't been able to do it for yourself. Okay. For the last 20 years, you've tried to save $100 and life has shown you that you can't do it. Right. So here's where the accountability is. It's about self-awareness. So this is where I'm going to have a conversation about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is self-awareness, social awareness, right? Emotional management and skill sets. Right. So my self awareness shows me that I don't have this capacity. I don't have this capacity. So I need help in this area. So for the last 20, 30 years, you have been showing yourself that I need help. This is where we get the accountability. This is where you say, I need assistance. But in his mind, he kept telling himself, and this is the subtleness of the ego. Yeah, but when I learn how to do that, wouldn't it be great if I can just get that on my own? And it was just such a very smooth conversation. It wasn't like, it wasn't defensive or anything. It was just like, yeah. And the great thing about it is like, when I'll be able to do that for myself. But guess what? That is what he's been telling himself for the last 20 years. And that's why he hasn't been able to save for the last 20 years. And when I brought that to his attention, it was like a light bulb went off like, yeah, now to go to an individual though, and say, hey, can you hold this $100 for me for the next year and put it in a high yield savings account? Guess what? That's the emotions. That's the vulnerability. That's now me recognizing what? My flaws, right? That's me now, now I have to deal with all of the judgments. And that's why I'm saying, like, sometimes this accountability, it in a sense, it exposes me. I'm not good with money, so I need your help with this thing. I worked with a finance coach for maybe 6 weeks. In those 6 weeks, I was able to save $12,000. Let me tell you, I had never been able to save money before, but just having this external support, and research shows that because I was meeting with her and she has said, do this, save this, go here, do this, get this type of account, do this. Like I was able to take my money and save it. Now here was the powerful thing in that. Right after I met with her and I saved this 12,000, and then I had saved some more on the side, like 2 months later, my contract went out. Now, if I wouldn't have met with her and realized that, like, hey, I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my money. I've got like, I have a lot coming in. I'm not really doing, and I know this, but I want to do this. When that contract went out, if I hadn't have got with myself, really did the thing, if this individual don't get with their self and do what they need to do and really feel that, because it didn't feel good, right? It wouldn't have prepared me for that next season where I had the money. I had the money to take care of me. If this individual does the recommendation, he will have the support and the money and the experience with money that he wants. If that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat for me, because I want you to see that holding ourselves accountable, one, takes a level of emotional intelligence, because one, I have to be self-aware. Two, I have to have a set of social skills, right? Because I'm going to have to communicate with people, right? I'm going to have to be able to communicate with people. And then I have to have a level of emotional management, meaning as I'm feeling this, feeling that feels like shame, that feels like guilt, instead of like suppressing it, right? These triggers that's coming up, instead of like suppressing and pushing them down and allowing them to tell me the same story that got me here, I'm going to have to feel that. I'm going to have to feel that, release that, right? And keep with the plan, because now I'm self-aware that I don't have the capacity. And what I told the gentleman at that time was, and listen, after a year or 2 years, maybe by then you'll see your money. So maybe at that point, you'll be able to what? Now, once you get it, you will have the capacity, and maybe you'll have a different relationship with money because you will have the habits then. But right now, your mind is keep telling you like, yeah, I can do it on my own. I'm start doing it on my own. And I said, and how many times have you tried to do it on your own? The money get to $1,000 or maybe $1,500 or maybe even 2,000 or 3,000. And what you do, you pull it out, right? You pull it out and you need somebody that's going to hold you accountable. And so that's why accountability is not just an internal job. It's also an external job, you guys. It's also putting the right people in place, the right systems in place, like an alarm clock, like a tracker, like a systems tracker, right? To really hold us accountable. Why? So we can become the highest, best versions of ourselves, you guys. The highest, best versions of ourselves. If that makes sense, put a 2 in the chat for me. All right. All right. So we know that the T in triggers, right, is all about emotions, right? But today's conversation is, am I triggered or am I being tested? All right. Because a lot of times, again, accountability, we can fall into this trigger trap where we're saying everything is a trigger. And some things is not a trigger. Some things is a test, a testament to your growth, a test of your capacity, right? It's triggering you, but it's not triggering it's not triggering you in a sense where it's trying to make you retreat. It's triggering you as an alarm. Remember we talked about last week to say, hey, let's move forward. We can move through this. Let's get present, right? So triggers come up with accountability because of these stories, right? So accountability can be deeply triggering, you guys. And I want to say this. Accountability can definitely be deeply triggered because it forces us to confront our actions, our choices, and our beliefs, right, about ourselves. When someone is held accountable, you guys, it often activates emotional responses that's rooted in past experiences, right? And I'm going to say this all week because it actually takes our mind like 7 or 8 times to hear something for us to really get it. All right. So here are some common triggers that rise when we start thinking about accountability and the stories that we tell ourselves. All right. So this fear of being judged. Okay. And I want you guys to either give me a heart if you feel this, right? If this has ever happened to you, or if you did it and you've experienced it, right? They're attacking me. So this feeling of being judged, right? So somebody trying to hold you accountable, or you're trying to hold somebody accountable and they feel attacked or you feel attacked, right? So accountability feels like criticism if we grew up in 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 a place where we were being where correction really felt like rejection. Okay. All right. So we feel judged and we have this story in our head like they're rejecting me. So if someone holds me accountable, it means that I'm failing, right? As an adult, it means that I'm failing because that's what it meant back then, right? When I was little, I did something wrong and I got on punishment. All right. So many people associate accountability with punishment, with criticism, and shame from their childhood, from work, or even a past relationship, you guys. But accountability isn't judgment, you guys. It's an opportunity for growth. And people who hold you accountable want to see you succeed, you guys. They really do. All right. If it's your mate, if it's your kids, if it's your boss, I'm telling you, and let's just take the people out the way. God want to see you succeed. God want to see you succeed. And these accountabilities that's coming to you, or these challenges that's triggering you, really want to bring the highest part of you out. And so instead of sometimes us just leaning into the trigger, let's lean into the growth. Okay. So accountability isn't about judgment, you guys. It's really an opportunity for growth. And the people who hold you accountable want to really see you succeed. I want you to trust that. All right. This feeling control, right? I don't need someone telling me what to do, right? Again, back to the conversation I had with the guy. I don't need nobody holding my money for me. I don't need nobody telling me how to move, right? I don't need nobody doing this, right? If we value independence as individuals, accountability can feel like we're losing our freedom. No one is going to tell me what to do. That is a story that we tell ourselves, right? So if someone grew up in a very controlling environment, accountability can feel like an attack on their personal freedom. I know for me, my number one value is autonomy, right? I love my autonomy, So when someone's trying to hold me accountable to something, I can be triggered in this way. And then I have to tell myself, no, they're just holding me accountable to either what I said, what I'm doing, or something like that. And that's my wrestle. Okay. So true accountability isn't about control, you guys. It's about support and structure to really help us reach our goals. All right. All right. Fear of failure, or not measuring up. So if I admit I need accountability, listen to me. If I admit I need accountability, it means I'm not good enough on my own. This is a huge one. For men, if I admit I need a woman's help as the head of the household, if I need her insight, if I need her wisdom, if I need her support, if I need her to follow up with me, right? Then that means what? Right? That in some way that I'm inadequate. That it don't mean that. It don't mean that at all. For women, if I need the support of my friends, right? A lot of us be like, check on your strong friends, right? Check on our strong friends, right? Because we have this thing that if I admit that I need accountability or I need this help, that in some way you know, that if I admit that I need accountability, it means I'm not good enough on my own. And this is just not true. Listen, society glorifies self-sufficiency, making people feel weak if they need help staying on track. And this is just, if I've seen people say, I'm gonna hire a coach, I'm gonna hire a mentor, I'm gonna get an accountability partner. And people are like, what you need that for? You can't do it on your own. No, I cannot. And not in this area. I need somebody to hold a space for me. And especially in our community, right? These are tools, right? These are tools, not weaknesses. And we all need tools. Ain't nobody using their hand trying to, hammer in a nail. Ain't nobody taking their nails trying to screw in the screw. No, they understand that my hand can't beat a nail in and my fingernail is not strong enough to screw in a screw, right? So we get it fundamentally. Ain't nobody sticking their hand in a pot of hot boiling water. They gonna take a spoon, right? Because they know the spoon is a tool to stir what? Stir the food, right? And other people minds and skill sets are tools that we use to strengthen what? Where we're weak, where we need to be strengthened. So using coaches, mentors, therapists, accountability partners, scheduling trackers, and things like that, those are not signs of weaknesses. They're actually signs that you're a very wise individual, and that you're going to be very proficient in your life. Okay. Okay. Resistance to authority and control. No one, this is another one. No one is going to tell me what to do. Again, if growing up in a controlling environment, accountability can feel like attack on your freedom, but true accountability isn't about control. It's really about support and structure to help you really grow faster, right? Shame and guilt of past failures, you guys. Listen, I've let myself down before and I don't trust myself to follow through. So if someone has a history of breaking commitments, right, they may avoid accountability because they fear repeating mistakes. As a therapist and as a coach, I have to say that, people will miss appointments, and because they miss one or two appointments, they just don't show up no more because they have some shame and guilt. Like, yeah, I was supposed to come. I was supposed to do my homework. And for me, it's just like, show up. You're breaking. Listen, this is a new space. This is a new space in your life. My goal is not for you to come in, be perfect and get everything done perfect. And I'll say that 50 times to them, but in their mind it's still like, but you gave me the assignment. And it's like, no, it's about learning. This is a learning curve that we're going through, right? And so you're not going to show up 100% every time. That's the goal. But even when you don't, do you know how much fortitude and tenacity for you to just show up and say, listen, I had a busy week, but I wasn't going to let the emotions I had about not doing that homework assignment stop me from not showing up to a place that I committed to. That's still winning, right? That's still holding yourself accountable to a space. My son had an event on Sunday he wanted to go to, but then he had double booked himself, and the one event was prior to, like, he had it. And so he was like, but I didn't do the assignment. And I was like, it didn't matter if you didn't do the assignment. You're the secretary on that board. you're going to show up. And I think that we get stuck in perfectionism so much, you guys. This is again why we don't keep our diet regimens and things like that, because once we don't do it 2 or 3 times, we will allow this shame and this guilt to kind of set in, like, okay, well, maybe that's just not for me, right? But let's hold ourselves accountable to the thing that we said we're gonna do, no matter if we missed out 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Let's just get up anew and do it and do it and do it, because remember, we're teaching the mind that that's where I want to be, that's what I want to be doing. And inch by inch, row by row, I'm going to get there, but I got to give myself grace. And if every time I don't make the mark, I'm teaching myself that, that it's okay for me to not get there, it's making it more difficult for me to get there. If that makes sense, put a 3 in the chat. And it may also be, I can't get there alone. So maybe I need an accountability partner, right? Maybe I need you, Sheila, to call me. So some of my clients, maybe Sheila is send me a reminder in the middle of the week to do my homework, because I need to be reminded of that. Maybe we need to put a system in place on Monday for me to do my homework so I can have it to you on Wednesday, right? So this is how we use accountability, right? This is how we use these type of tools, because this is the self-awareness part, if that makes sense, right? Because if we're not using those type of things, then we're going to continue to judge ourselves and feel this guilt and this shame about not showing up. And it's like, okay, so what am I do about that? So maybe I call my friend Mariah. Again, Mariah, I work with her. She's like my brain sometimes. Okay, I need you to sit down. I'm finna talk. I need a sounding board. I need you to write everything down for me, right? I literally will hire her sometimes to do that. Why? Because she's my sounding board. I need somebody that I can talk to. We write. Okay, how can we prioritize that, right? And at first, and she could tell you, she put a heart in the chat if I'm right. At first, it was so weird to me. Like, I just need somebody to talk to. Like, I just need to get these thoughts out my mind, right? I just need some. And at first, she didn't probably know anything I was talking about, but I knew what I needed. And I know for me, I needed a present body right there with me, because if it was me by myself, it wasn't getting done. Right. And this is the self-awareness. This is the emotional intelligence. Okay. All right. And this is why emotional intelligence is important. A lot of us talk about emotional intelligence, you guys. We talk about it in relationships. Like, I need an emotional intelligent man and I need an emotional intelligent partner. But emotional intelligence is like the house. Okay. And the house got rooms. All right. So you have the self-awareness room. You got the skill set room. You got the emotional management room, right? You got the social skills rooms. Like, it's different rooms in the house. And one of the rooms can be clean all the time. I'm very good at maybe my skill sets, but I ain't good in the kitchen, right? So emotional intelligence is not one thing. It's a whole lot of things. And this self-awareness is a big part of it. Okay, it's a big part of it. And when I become self-aware that I'm trying to show up and I'm trying to do this thing and it's not happening, now this is where accountability come in. What tool I'm going to use, what system I'm going to use, what person I'm going to use outside of me to hold me accountable to that space. Pep said amen. All right. All right. So we also have fear of discomfort and change. All right. So the story, okay, before we get there, comparison and insecurity, right? So the story we'll tell ourselves is everyone else has it together. Why am I struggling, right? So when people are held accountable, they often start to compare their progress to other people's progress, leading them to, feel inadequate, right? We really want to reframe that, right? The only person you need to be competing with is your past self. All right. Accountability is about your personal growth. Remember, we talked about that in the Bible verse yesterday. And here's the thing. We don't know who holding that other person accountable, right? Again, we're comparing ourselves to social media people. We don't know their team. Remember, a lot of people have teams around them. These social media people, they have teams around them. Okay. And a lot of us are trying to do it on our own and we're exhausted. We're exhausted as mothers. Where's your accountability partners? Right? Where's your organization, your group that you're passing the baton to, that's holding you accountable, to make sure your cup is full. Okay. As fathers, where's your accountability at? That's making sure you're showing up as a man. That's making sure you're showing up the way you should be showing up. Where's the accountability outside of you? You know, as women, right? Where's your friends that's making sure you're showing up as the highest best you? That's not a mother, that's not a wife, right? But this as a woman. See, these things are important, right? Right. And that's not an internal job. But again, if we really start to look at accountability as these systems and these tools that I'm using so I can be the highest version of myself. And so I have people in my life, right? That's a reflection of my highest best person, my mom, myself as a mom, myself as a professional. Then I have my tools and systems, right? My calendar, my alarm clock. If you are with me, on my phone every hour, it's an affirmation going off. Why? That's my accountability to remind me that I'm awesome, I'm wonderful, that today is a good day, that no matter what's going on, right? So I use systems to really keep my mind present. Why? Because your mind, it will just go in the weeds. Right now, to set that up, it takes work. It does. But that's again why I created something like the Project Life program, so we can put these systems in place. Listen, I wouldn't come up here and set up every day and talk to you guys for an hour and then offer Project Life if I didn't feel like you needed Project Life after this. If I felt like this is all you needed, it wouldn't be a step 2 or step 3. All right. It wouldn't be that. I wouldn't have added that piece. But I'm saying, hey, you need the accountability. Now you need the external support. I'm giving you the internal insight, right? But remember, Project Life is where we turn what? Theory into practice. And to turn something into practice is using a different part of your mind. So now we have to put systems in place. We have to get you activated. There's individuals that now have to hold a space for you when you can't hold a space for yourself. You're changing how you're thinking. Emotions are going to come up. Listen, you cannot do that alone. But life has told you that you could. And I'm here to disrupt that. And life has told you you could, and you believed it because of these things: fear, failure, resistance to authority, guilt and shame, comparing yourself to others, fear of discomfort and change, right? I don't want to be uncomfortable. I just want to stay where I'm at, even though I really don't want to stay where I'm at, right? But accountability really requires people to step out their comfort zones, right? Which triggers the brain's natural response to change, right? Growth happens outside of our comfort zone, you guys. Discomfort is temporary, but the progress that you experience is lasting. It's lifelong, right? I told you can't unexperience an experience. Once you have it, it's forever there. All right. And then also feeling exposed. I don't want to be called out. I don't want to be called out on my flaws. Again, the dating world with social media, I can text, I can show up, I can put filters on, I can do anything I want to do behind this phone, behind this screen, and nobody can hold me accountable to my words, to my actions, to who I am. Like literally, right? It's a veil, right? And I can be miserable in my personal life. And I could put today's a good day. And I can post a picture from 3 years ago. Who would know? And actually, who is there to hold me accountable? If I'm not dating, if I have nobody to hold me accountable, you know what I mean? Or even if somebody do, I can call them a hater. I can brush them off. I can minimize what they're saying. You know what I mean? So again, it's these very sophisticated ways that we're allowing ourselves to live in a life that's not really serving our highest best self. I'm not judging that life. I'm just saying, hey, is that the best you could do with these 750 billion cells that God has given you? If that is, okay. But if you want something different, know that you can have something different. Okay. Then we have the feeling of overwhelmed that gets in the way, right? This feels like too much pressure. Listen, if we are avoiding responsibility, accountability do feel big, you guys. It could feel real big, and it could feel like a big leap. And that's why, again, it's a learning curve. Okay. And then just this feeling of resistance, right? I'm fine with the thing, I'm fine the way I am, right? Change can feel uncomfortable, and we can justify just staying the same, uncomfortably comfortable. All right. And again, if that's where you want to be, that's okay. Just know that that's a choice that you're making, you guys. So I want you to think about when someone holds you accountable. What are your first reactions? Do you feel resistance? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel exposed? Right? Do you fear discomfort and change? Do you have this feeling of comparison or insecurity? Do you feel some guilt or shame about from past failures or experiences? Do you resist authority or control? Right? Do you have a fear of failure or possibly not measuring up? All right. Or do you just feel judged? If you experienced any of that, put a heart in the chat, because I don't want to feel like I'm the only person that went through that learning curve when I started to feel a level of responsibility. All right. Listen, triggers around accountability are not signs of failure, you guys. They are signs that we're healing. Uh, there are signs of where healing needs to happen. Listen, recognizing your triggers is the first step in overcoming it. Accountability isn't something that we fear, it's something that empowers you. And instead of really running from accountability, let's lean into it. Let's lean into it and ask, what is this resistance really teaching me? Okay. All right. Again, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what people most feel, what people need, because I know we're having this conversation about accountability. I was having a conversation with a friend last night, and um I'm a person that uh I date. I date. If you guys watch the What Will My Daddy Say show, you know that I date and I had these shenanigans in my dating world. And my daddy is always kind of correcting me, right? In the What Will My Daddy Say show. And we're gonna go back and we're gonna probably pick that season back up. But I always had this thing that I say to men where I'll say, I didn't say that, right? Because they will say something I didn't say. And in this particular situation, I'm talking to a guy and he's like, you know, you're saying this and saying that. And then I say, excuse me, I didn't say that. And he's like, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. And in my mind, this again, I'm talking about accountability. Why would we continue to have a conversation? You're telling me I'm not listening to you, but you're finna explain to me a whole scenario, listen, about something I never said. And then you're mad because you feel like I'm not hearing you talk about something I never said, right? And he got very upset. You never listen. You're trying to I'm not trying to be a therapist, but I'm saying if we're going to talk, we're going to talk about what I actually said. Now, if you want me to sit and hear you explain what you think I said, then that's a different conversation. And I'm all up for that. But if you're responding to what I said, just let's be on the same page about that, right? So I want to talk about that because I think that when we start to hold people accountable, right, it can trigger some stuff. And when people start holding you accountable, it can trigger different emotions. Okay. So here's the thing. People, um, one, I need you to identify what really triggers you. Okay. What really triggers you. Okay. So some people struggle with external accountability, being called out by others, right? In that particular situation, it was an external accountability. Like I was holding him accountable. So he felt the way. Okay. Some people are triggered by self accountability, not following through on their own. So they know that they were supposed to do something. Now in their mind, they're having, right, difficulty. You never do this. They're having this internal dialogue about how they never show up, right? And some people struggle with spiritual accountability, right? Avoiding alignment with the higher power. They know what they're called to do. They understand what God say, right? But then they struggle with actually showing up in that way. And so they feel this kind of disconnect. All right. So there's three there's three specific triggers that, and there could be more, but I want you to know that there's the external trigger, there's a self accountability. People struggle with external accountability, self accountability, and then the spiritual accountability. Okay, so sometimes people use triggers to avoid the difference between triggers and excuses. I do want to talk about that. Sometimes people use triggers as a reason to avoid accountability. All right. Sometimes people use triggers to avoid accountability. Listen, I don't like being told what to do. That is not a trigger. I don't like being told what to do is resistance to structure. Okay. I work better under pressure. That is avoidance of steady discipline, right? When people, that's procrastination. When people wait till the last minute to do something done, that's avoidance of, okay, what is my system? What process am I going to have in place? I know I got to get this done Friday. What am I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? If I'm waiting to the last minute to get something done, I have no accountability system in place. And now I'm up all night doing this thing. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just need you to know that that's avoidance of a steady discipline, right? And you may need to put an accountability system in place. All right. I need to be in the right mindset first. Okay. That is not a trigger, right? That is perfectionism, right? And delay and the delay tactic. A lot of us are telling ourselves, before we talk about that, I need to be in the right mindset. Before we have this conversation, it need to be the right time, right? No, that's just perfectionism in a way that we're delaying possibly feeling this emotion, right? And so we need to understand that, because maybe I need to hold myself accountable, possibly, right, to not doing the thing that I need to be doing, probably not having the conversation that I need to be having. Okay. All right. A trigger is not an excuse, you guys. It's a signal. All right. When somebody triggers you, I need you to ask, what is this showing me about ourselves? An excuse is a reason why I'm not doing this. Okay. And people use excuses and we will call them triggers, and they're not the same. And a lot of us are using excuses as triggers. Oh, that frustrates me. You triggering me. No, you're not being triggered. You're being frustrated. You're being annoyed. You're feeling, and that's not a deeper trigger. Okay. And I'm compelled to say this again. When we are living in a society where we don't hold ourselves accountable, we don't have external accountability, we're not holding ourselves accountable in our relationships, we're not holding ourselves accountable to a higher purpose, right? It's as if there's no structure around us, right? We become more fragile, right? We become more fragile. So anything may appear to trigger us, but it's really irritating, right? Because we have now bought into our minds that whatever I tell myself is truth and whatever you tell me is not. And remember, the mind is there to serve who? It's there to serve you. So if you tell yourself that everybody is stupid, then you're going to see the stupidity in everybody. If you tell yourself that the world is cruel, then you're going to see the cruelty in everybody, right? Because the mind is there to serve you and to show you exactly what you're looking for. All right. Now, where does that play at in accountability? Okay. Now, if I want to grow and I want to expand and I want to be my highest best self, well, one, those beliefs in my highest best self, they don't go together. Because one, I have to be in community, right? Because being my highest best self means that one, when I talked about that ring, that there's a purpose for my life. So being in purpose means that there's connection for my life. That means that I have a community I have a community purpose. That means either as a husband or a wife, or, within my community as a leader, as a mentor, right? So I'm living for something that's greater than me. So that means that now, Miss Sheila, Miss Jackie said that's the law of attraction. It is, right? It is a part of the law of attraction, right? We attract what we think, not we would attract who we are, not what we want, right? But in this case, accountability. Now, when I'm talking about holding ourselves accountable, it's to a standard. It's to a standard, and that's very different than boundaries. It's very different than boundaries, you guys. When we're talking about shaping our life, it's shaping our life so that we can be a vessel for ourselves to grow, a vessel for our children to have better experiences, so that our family members can flourish, right? So we can be the umbrella, right? Now, guess what? A lot of us is tired. I'm tired of being a strong person. I'm tired of taking care of everybody. I want to be served, right? I've been taking care of people for years. I'm tired of people using me. Listen, being used and being of service, that's two different energies. Being used and being of service is two different energies. And let me show you how. Being of service is the apple tree that has the apples, that is in full maturity, and it has the apples to give. So much so that it's so many apples that they rotten, they fall into the ground, that the people coming and they picking the apples, and then the ones that's falling, the animals are eating it, and then the ones that's decaying is like feeding the earth, right? That's being a service. Being a service. Being used is like before the apple tree can even fully grow, right? You taken from it before it can even blossom apples. You like, oh, I'm gonna get these apples before they even ripe. That's a different energy, okay? And a lot of us, that's like survival, and a lot of us are given from an unripened place, and that does feel like I just don't have it to give. Because guess what? You don't, because you're not ripe. But when you have the right accountability, the right accountability systems in place, and you have people holding you accountable, and you're accountable to a space, a time, and things like that, then the ripening happens for you to serve. If that makes sense, put an A in the chat. For you to serve, because now you can be of service, right? Because now you're ripened, okay? And now they can only get what comes out of you, because you put the right systems in place for you to ripen and harvest. All right. Now, okay. I do want to connect the reason why we're not able to really handle accountability. Listen, most people really resist accountability, really, because it just started in childhood. People were raised in strict, critical childhoods, and they may associate accountability with punishment, right? People who never had accountability grew up, who never had accountability may grow up and seeing it as unnecessary and annoying, right? Why are you saying that? Why you keep telling me what to do? If people didn't grow up with rules and structure, right, and was given everything, hey, why are you trying to hold me accountable today? All right. And people who failed before may see accountability as a reminder of their past, you guys. And I do want you to think about, I only think I can keep saying is to tie this conversation about accountability in, is think about a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you want them to do something, and you're trying to hold them accountable, and they're pointing a finger, and how upset you get when you know if they only did that thing, how much relief you would get. How much relief you would get if they did this, or if they did that, or that's like you're trying to hold them accountable to a space, or they said this, or they did this, right? Now turn it on you. if you had a system in place that allowed you to do the things you say you're gonna do, show up in the way that you say you're gonna show up, financially, spiritually, emotionally, heal the spaces in you, right? Internally and externally, how much could we tolerate the people around us, expand, grow, and have the capacity? All right. And that is not our mate's responsibility. That is ours. That is our responsibility. All right. So our biblical wisdom for today, Proverbs, listen, our principal verse, our principal verse, Hebrews 12 and 11. Listen, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. We've had this verse before. No discipline seemed pleasant at the time, you guys, but painful. But later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace from those who have been trained by it. Okay. What this means is that accountability, you guys, accountability feels uncomfortable, but it's a part of the refining process. Listen, growth isn't supposed to be easy. It's just not. It's not. It's supposed to uh it's supposed to be worth it though. It's supposed to be worth it. The practical application of this is when accountability triggers you, don't react, pause and ask, what is it trying to teach me? Listen, this verse directly speaks to why accountability feels uncomfortable, but it is necessary, you guys. It is necessary for our growth. When we're held accountable, it can feel painful, it can be triggering and even unfair. But that discomfort is actually a sign that growth is happening, you guys. Listen, the God within us is not condemning us, but he is refining us. But it is refining us, you guys. Listen, many people resist accountability because it doesn't feel good in the moment. But just like training a muscle, discipline strengthens us over time. If you are triggered by accountability, you guys, it's not a sign to run, you guys. It is a sign to lean in. It's not a sign to run, you guys. It's a sign to lean in. Listen, when have you avoided accountability because it felt uncomfortable? I want you to ask yourself that. When have I avoided accountability because it felt uncomfortable? Okay. And what if that discomfort was actually preparing me for a greater purpose? I'm gonna talk about the conversation that I had with the individual yesterday, that call that I made. Listen, when I was talking to them about the accountability, we both agreed that accountability was different because we as human beings, we can manipulate people and we can hide, and we don't always have to be truthful. And it is this sense of, it is kind of like this sense of, I want something and who do I need to be to get the thing I want? And it's easy for me to make you the problem, right? And it's really like a kind of like a survival mentality. It really is. It's like I have a need. I want you to take care of that need. If that need is sexual, if it's emotional, if it's financial, right? If it's, I want to eat, you know what I mean? I have a need. I feel like you could feel that need for me. What do I need to tell you? Who I need to be, right, to get this need met? Um, and so when we start talking about accountability and now being disciplined, right, and now like being righteous in this verse, right, this can be very difficult because this is like, oh, I was just doing that. This is kind of like I just I just I just said that because I wanted to eat, or I just was saying that like I wasn't serious about that. When I'm bringing in these principle verses this week, and I'm bringing in these promise verses this week, and I'm talking about accountability, and your mind is dismissing the power of discipline, this promise verse that I'm about to talk about, you know, any of the triggers that may come up for you, it may be that this conversation is something that you probably need to watch again. Because one, if you in survival mode and you're just taking from people in that way, and in a very savvy way, because I say, yeah, we can finesse people. And this finessing that we do, it lends to us not holding ourselves accountable, you guys. And that finessing can be triggering people to not live in their highest best self. That finessing can be triggering you to not live in your highest best self. That finessing that we do where we're hiding and we're taking from Peter and saying whatever we need to say to get our needs met in the moment is not really serving a purpose for anyone. It's just kind of like a moment that's being, I ate, yeah, sex was good. That conversation was good. But is it transformational? Is it a learning opportunity? Can I take that moment and use it to build on? Was that a step? You know what I mean? Was that information that I can use to make me wiser, to help me to build to build this relationship? Why am I saying that? Because that's what accountability does. Accountability is once I could take into account everything I've done, the multiplication can happen from God, right? Once I can take into account life and the strengthening happens, right? But if I've missed the mark all these times because I haven't been disciplined, right? Because I haven't been disciplined in my acts, right? Because because I haven't allowed the discipline to I haven't went through the painfulness that is required from being disciplined, then guess what? I have nothing to account for. So God don't have anything to really multiply in me. Right. And now I'm feeling like maybe I'm being punished. Maybe I'm not one of the chosen one. Maybe nobody loves me. Right. And just repeating the story, that's really not true. Because we all got a blessing. We all got a blessing that is in store for us. We all have a purpose that's in store for us. Accountability is so important, you guys. It's so important to our life. Listen, the promise verse. Instruct the wise and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous and they will add to their learning. Okay, listen, the wise doesn't reject accountability. They embrace it because they know it makes them better. Listen, every time you feel triggered, you have a choice, right? You can resist the growth or you can lean into it, right? What if accountability was God's way of sharpening you? We talked about iron sharpening iron yesterday. Listen, this verse shows us that wise people don't run from accountability. They embrace it. Instead of seeing correction and feedback as an attack, the wise see it as an opportunity to really get stronger, better, and more aligned. The God within us is not looking not looking to shame us, not looking to punish us, you guys, not looking to guilt us into a relationship with him. Listen, he is looking to call us to a higher purpose. He's looking to call us higher. He truly is. It truly is. Okay. Okay. Your inner wisdom, the God within you, is guiding you to become more disciplined, more responsible, more aligned. The resistance you feel, you guys, isn't from God. It's your fear. It's your pride. It's your past condition. It's your survival mentality. It's this need that's in you to finesse. It's this instant gratification that you want right now, right? It's the victim mentality that you have. And all of those are not fruits of God, you guys, right? And all of those things is keeping you from holding yourself accountable, you guys. Listen, past conditioning can tell you that accountability equals failure, and it does not. It does not. I don't know no accountability system, no math system like 1+1=2. You know what I mean? Like 2+2=4. You only get better when you put these systems in place. That's what I'm trying to say. So shifting your mindset allows you to step into the divine confidence instead of becoming defensive. So ask yourself, do I reject accountability because I see it as criticism? And then what if I actually, what if it's actually wisdom sharpening me for success? I want you to ask yourself that. All right. Our transformational tools today, I need you to pause before reacting. That's step one. I don't think I put it in the banner today. I didn't. Pause before reacting. Did I put it in? Nope, I didn't. Okay, pause before reacting. So when someone holds you accountable, don't react defensively. Take a moment, pause. Okay. Step two, identify the root trigger, right? Why does this feedback bother me, right? Is it fear? Is it pride? Is it insecurity? Is it that I'm lying and I'm just trying to cover it up? We cannot be just remiss to say that. A lot of us are just lying and we just don't want to be exposed. And it's okay. I was lying because, I posted that in the group the other day. Like, we can't even get nowhere until we, they say, until we expose the lie, right? And a lot of us are holding on to the lie and doing whatever we can to hold on to the lie. And it's keeping us from holding ourselves in account. And when we're not holding ourselves into account, you guys, guess what? We're not growing. We're not growing. All right. Identify the root trigger. Why does this feedback bother me? All right. Is it fear? Is it pride? Or is it insecurity? Shift your mindset. They're attacking me. Instead of thinking they're attacking me, just try to think where could this be helped and how could it grow me? And then the challenge for today is the next time someone holds me accountable, listen. The next time someone holds you accountable, practice pausing and reacting. Okay. So the next time somebody try to hold you accountable, just pause. Just pause. All right. Okay. And our affirmation for today is going to be, I am open to accountability because I am committed to my growth. Triggers do not control me. I use them as a tool for transformation. And then our daily intention for today is daily intention. Today, I embrace accountability as a pathway to my highest self. And then our bonus challenge for the next 24 hours. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to listen. When accountability triggers you, pause, reflect, and shift your mindset. And then if you want to, come back and drop a realization in the comments. Listen, drop a heart. Listen, drop a fire in the comments. Drop a fire in the comments if this session really changed your perspective on accountability, you guys. I just want you to know, if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. Remember, life is an acronym. You can have it in your love of self. You can have it in your interactions with others. You can have it in your focus, and you can have it in your energy, you guys. I love you. I love you. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about breaking barriers, you guys, the obstacles that really keep us from holding ourselves accountable. All right. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel. Continue to invite your friends, you guys. Join that Project Life for $47 a month. I love you. I will see you tomorrow for that life lesson. Yeah. Till later.